What a wild weekend we just had. NFC playoffs, NFL playoffs in general, AFC, CJ Stroud's meltdown, Sean McDermott's firing, Buffalo's Bills melt down once again. I am your host, Tyrell. Welcome to the Nosebleed Show. If this is your first time here, welcome. If you guys are just returning, welcome back. As we start another edition, another Monday live stream. Let's get this lighting situated a little bit. There we go. And we got a lot to talk about. Sean McDermott fired. John Harbaugh's hiring of the from the New York Giants official. Kevin Stefanski going down to the dirty South as Matt Ryan and his first major decision as the president of football operations for the Atlanta Falcons hired Kevin Stefanski as the next head coach. And what broke about 2 hours ago, the defensive coordinator for the Green Bay Packers is going to Miami. Jeff Hafley going to the Miami Dolphins. Not his first head coaching gig. Former Boston College head coach a couple of years ago. And now he is going to be the head coach of the Miami Dolphins. You can see we improving some things around here. I figured out how to do a little scrolling texting thing going on. And yeah, we're figuring it out. This channel is growing. We are on the road to 150 subscribers. We are very, very close. We had 123 right now. So everybody, just thank y'all for the continuous support. Please, I know you guys seen the banner before, but please hit that like button. Please share. Please comment. Please subscribe. Share with all your friends. But we got a lot to talk about today. And you know we're going to do a show on Wednesday or Thursday talking about the AFC and the NFC championship games and all that other stuff. But let's talk about each of the hirings first, right? And then we're going to get into Sean McDermott. And then we're going to get into the game. So we have a very fulfilling show to do. So I'm pretty sure that Harbaugh probably would have waited a little bit longer had he known or had an inkling that the Buffalo Bills are going to fire Sean McDermott. And a lot of people were like, hey, the Buffalo Bills is the best looking job out there. We'll talk about the Buffalo Bills. job in a minute when we get to Sean McDermott. But the thing about John Harbaugh going to the Giants, right, is that he has an opportunity to shape and mold a team that is extremely young, but also has veterans that are ready to win. He has an opportunity to shape and mold Jackson Dart. He has an opportunity to shape and mold Cam Scatterboo, Malik Neighbors, opportunity to get the best out of Abdul Carter after a disappointing rookie year, and really get things going in an organization that has been desperately needing things to get going and desperately needed strong leadership that holds these players accountable, that holds the organization accountable, that they have not had since Tom Coughlin has stepped down and decided to retire back in 2015, 2016. They've gone through the Ben McAdoo's. They've gone through the Joe Judge. They've had Brian Dable. It looked like it was going to work with Dable. It didn't work. They had Pat Shurmur. We told y'all that wasn't going to be a good hire. Since Coughlin, they've had 4 coaches? McAdoo, Shurmur, Dable, Joe Judge, and not in that particular order. And now we have John Harbaugh. John Harbaugh's on the older side. He's 63. 62, 63 years old, but that doesn't matter. The Giants needed a guy that everybody knows is going to stick up for the staff, that's going to work well with the organization, not going to cause a lot of turmoil with the organization, and is going to get the best out of these young players. See, we talk about these coaches, a lot of these coaches, assistant coaches that develop these quarterbacks. John Harbaugh has a proven track record of developing franchise quarterbacks as a head coach. Prior to John Harbaugh going to the Baltimore Ravens, the Ravens had no franchise quarterback. They played the quarterback shuffle. They brought in guys that, that won them games or got them close. Guys remember Steve McNair being a part of the Ravens in the later half of his career. We know that Trent Dilfer won him a Super Bowl ring, but they let him go right after. They had to go through the Anthony Wrights of the world and all that other stuff, right? The Kyle Boilers prior to John Harbaugh going to the Baltimore Ravens. And Harbaugh, along with Ozzie Newsome, was able to bring in Joe Flacco. And Harbaugh, with hiring a great staff and being a great mentor to the quarterbacks, let's be real, Joe Flacco developed into a franchise quarterback out of Delaware University. Flash forward 10 years later, after they draft Joe Flacco, here comes Lamar Jackson. And Lamar Jackson has developed into a franchise quarterback. So for the last 15 years, during the entire tenure, really, 15, 18, 19 years, the Baltimore Ravens have had a franchise quarterback thanks to John Harbaugh. And I don't expect anything less if John Harbaugh does the same thing for for Jackson Dart. Jackson Dart has shown promise with Brian Dable and then Matt Kafka. There is a lot of potential and a lot of upside for John Harbaugh to develop Jackson Dart. The potential and the talent is already there. Now, John Harbaugh can add that experience, that accountability into Jackson Dart to flourish him and get the best out of Jackson Dart. He does a great job at developing defensive talent in the past. Ravens, outside of the last year or so, Ravens consistently, and we're talking about post Ray Lewis, post Ed Reed era, right? Under John Harbaugh, consistently had one of the better defenses in the league. A lot of times, the defense used to carry them, into some key games. So we know he's going to get the best out of these players and hold these players accountable. Like I said, the Giants have been missing that since the Coughlin era. And now they get that with John Harbaugh. So I do think it is a great hire by the Giants. And I'm going to say this too. John Harbaugh has more of a leash with that ownership group, say, if he were to go to Buffalo. Because I believe that whoever gets hired by Buffalo, it is a extremely short leash. extremely short leash to the point where if you don't get into the AFC Championship game within a year or two, they might give you 1 year. They're going to expect you to make the playoffs over there in Orchard Park. But if you don't get to the AFC Championship game in 2 years, you could be on the unemployment line. You could be on the unemployment line. So the question is, or do y'all think John Harbaugh should have waited to see what was going to happen? And do you guys think that John Harbaugh made the right decision by choosing the Giants job out of all the jobs that he could have chose? Because out of all the jobs, including the Buffalo job that opened up today, he was the number one candidate. Number one candidate. Let's exclude the Buffalo job because that opened up today. Number one candidate. So John Harbaugh had waited until the end of this weekend to finalize the deal with the New York Giants to see what Buffalo had to say. Let me know in the comment section. Kevin Stefanski, hired by the Atlanta Falcons. Matt Ryan's first key decision was to hire Kevin Stefanski. We know about him, two-time coach of the year. I'm a Browns fan. I know about him deeply as far as a coach. Two-time coach of the year, turned the Browns organization around prior to hitting the wall and things going back to where it is. Coached in 2 playoff games. I know a lot of people count that towards his record, that Pittsburgh game. I don't count it. He didn't coach in that game, yes, because of COVID, but he didn't coach in that game. That was Prefer and Van Pelt that had charge of that, and Prefer was the interim head coach for that game. So Stefanski was 0-2 here in playoff games, even though by NFL record he's 1-2. The question is Michael Penix. Can Stefanski develop Michael Penix? The notion and the narrative that Kevin Stefanski got screwed over by the organization. He didn't have a real quarterback, a real number one wide receiver. He shouldn't have been fired because of this. We know about the nosebleed section's favorite person on this universe, Mary Kay Cabot, and Dan Orlovsky went to bat for Kevin Stefanski throughout the course of this year, especially the last 2 months of the season, as the rumors were starting to heat up that he was going to get fired. So now he's going into a situation like, let's be real here. Penix is seen as a better quarterback than Shedeur Sanders. He's definitely a better quarterback than Dylan Gabriel. He is definitely a better quarterback than majority of the quarterbacks that Stefanski had here. There's a bit of an argument to that, but let's be honest. The Cleveland Browns swung for the fences by getting Deshaun Watson. I'd rather from an organization swing for the fences than to do nothing at all. They outbid everybody in the sweepstakes. And yes, despite everything that they try to tell you, Stefanski was a part of that recruiting process. Stefanski was sitting there in Deshaun Watson's living room in Houston, Texas, developing and trying to draw up plays with Deshaun Watson, regardless of what they're trying to say now. It's a bunch of BS. Okay? Let's call a spade a spade. So Stefanski has an opportunity to change the narrative or sit back and strengthen the narrative, I should say, of, well, he never had any real players. It was, they're saying this without saying this. It's more of an Andrew Berry than it was a Kevin Stefanski for why he left Cleveland. Now that opportunity presents itself with the Atlanta Falcons. It presents itself with Atlanta Falcons. They have a better quarterback. They have a better wide receiver room. They have a top 2 running back in the entire league. They have a better offense line. This is a better organizational structure and a better roster one than the Cleveland Browns today. Kevin Stefanski is walking into a better situation, in my opinion, than when he walked into the situation with the Cleveland Browns. That's just my opinion. So I say that to say the one or two things is going to happen. Either the narrative of Stefanski didn't have a real quarterback, didn't have a real team. It was more so Andrew Berry's fault. That's why they should have let go of Andrew Berry as well. That narrative is going to get strengthened by what happens the next couple of years with Stefanski, or it's going to be you were the problem the whole time in Cleveland. That's going to be the national media narrative. My opinion is is that Stefanski did a good job here, but the job wasn't good enough. And yes, there's a lot of people that say, Browns fans, you shouldn't beg for this, you shouldn't beg for that. You should be happy with Stefanski because look where your track record is. And I say to you, how can we not ask for better than 8 wins in the last 2 years? Whether you agree with Andrew Berry being hired or not, why can't Browns fans sit back and demand? Why can't any fan base sit back and demand better out of their organization, out of their coaches? I say that to you guys. Why can't we say that? So do you guys think that Kevin Stefanski would do a better job in Atlanta than he did it in Cleveland? Do you guys think it was Kevin Stefanski's fault in Cleveland? Let me know in the comments. But I will say this. I think Stefanski is a excellent mind in this game. I think he makes a good offensive coordinator. I just never believed, even with us winning, that he made the best head coach. Sometimes guys are coordinators and sometimes guys are coaches. And for anybody on the outside looking in and going, how can you say that about a 2-time coach of the year candidate, a 2-time coach of the year winner? How can you say that? Because there were things that were happening even in that season or in between those 2 coach of the years where there was enough evidence with Baker, with Deshaun, with this quarterback, with that quarterback, that Kevin Stefanski wasn't a leader of men. He walked around the facility without talking to anybody on a regular basis. The players didn't really connect with him. They really connected more with Jim Schwartz. He let incompetency and ineptitude continue to happen. And he continued to not hold every player accountable. Again, you cannot sit back and hold people accountable in team film sessions and not hold your quarterback accountable. And that's what he did. Is he going to learn from that and change from that with Atlanta? We will see. And then what broke down just a short while ago, about 2.5 hours ago, Jeff Hafley hired as the head coach of the Miami Dolphins. He has a 22-26 record at Boston College. I'm usually not a fan of a head coach in the NFL having a losing record in college. That's just me, but it's also Boston College. So there's a bit of a pass there. Bit of a pass, not much. Not much at all, but a bit of a pass. And his 4 seasons in Boston College, 6-5 in 2020, 6-6 in 21, 3-9 in 22, but it improved at 7-6 and won a bowl game on his way out. Won a bowl game on his way out. So not bad for outside that 3-9 season, not bad for a coach that coached at Boston College. It's not like he went 22-26 at Oregon University or he went 22-26 at the University of Alabama. This is Boston College. But the Packers have had a top 15 defense in the last 2 years under his tutelage. Like, they were 5th last year. They were 12th this year. And a little bit of that, like, kind of, because of the Micah thing. And we saw that he made a good adjustment, the best adjustment he could, without having Micah Parsons there anymore. So time will tell if Miami gets a good job, does a good job with this. But there's going to be a lot of changes that's going to be happening in Miami. A lot of changes that's going to be happening in Miami. But the big news today was Sean McDermott being fired. Sean McDermott fired by the Buffalo Bills after 9 seasons there. You want to talk about a guy that completely changed that organization around. They were perennial losers just like the Cleveland Browns. Couldn't find their quarterback, couldn't get things going, couldn't get things right. Absolutely stunk up the bed, one of the laughing stocks in the league. Or there were times where they would get off to a hot start just for them to collapse in the middle of the year and then just kind of shit the bed towards the end. Sean McDermott completely changed that program around, completely changed the organization around. If you're a Buffalo Bills fan, you have to at least say thank you, Sean McDermott, for that. 98-50 in the regular season, but was 8-8 in the playoffs with the Buffalo Bills. But sometimes you just hit a wall, just like with Stefanski and the Browns, just like Tony Dungy when he was the head coach of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Tony Dungy spent what? 4 or 5 years in Tampa. Similar thing. Tampa they were literally called the Yuccaneers. The Tampa Bay Yuccaneers. Warren Sapp didn't want to get drafted there. He was kind of pissed that he got drafted there. And Dungy comes in and they build this confidence and they're doing a great job, but they just can't get over the hump. Yes, they're in a better position than where they were in when Tony Dungy got there. But Tampa realized we've hit a wall with Dungy. We can't get over the hump with Dungy. So what do? They let him go and they trade for John Gruden. What happened immediately after that? They won the Super Bowl. Won the Super Bowl literally the year that the Buccaneers fired Tony Dungy. And I'm not saying that the Buffalo Bills are going to turn around and hire this coach or trade for a coach and that's going to lead them to the Super Bowl, right? I'm not saying that at all. But what I'm saying is that for me, the way I'm looking at this from my point of view is I see a lot of similarities with Sean McDermott and Tony Dungy the first stint. Dungy needed to go to Indianapolis. He needed a new environment. He needed a new organization that, let's be real here, had a franchise quarterback in Peyton Manning. Dungy needed to go. Dungy needed to leave Tampa in order to win his Super Bowl with the Indianapolis Colts. He needed that. Just like Tampa needed Dungy to go and bring in John Gruden. And I think the same thing is with Buffalo. Buffalo does need to hit this out the park because whoever takes this job, in my opinion, has 2 years to win a Super Bowl. This team, they believe that this team, Brandon Beane believes this team is built to win a championship this year, next year, the following years. They have been just right there, but haven't gotten over the hump. And no more excuse was what? Oh, well, it's Joe Burrow. That was excuse number 2. Excuse me. Excuse number 1 was, oh, well, they have to play Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs, and the referees always find a way, or Patrick Mahomes always find a way. Where was that narrative? What, they got eliminated week 15 out of the playoff contention? They got eliminated week 15, so you can't. There's no Patrick Mahomes excuse now. They go to Denver, have a total meltdown towards the end of the game, and Buffalo is just sitting back and saying, you know what? Either Brandon Shane or Brandon Beane or Terry Bagula said, you know what? It's not the roster you're building, Brandon. It's the coach. And like I said, sometimes the organization just needs a new coach. And sometimes the organization needs a different voice. Sometimes the coach needs to go somewhere else as well. Sometimes it happens like that. Sometimes it's not just one person's fault. Sometimes it's just a change of environment. And I think that's what's going on here. I think it's just a change of environment. I think McDermott needs a change, and I think Buffalo needs a change. The whole national media is oh my gosh, I'm so stunned that this happened, this and third. This is a results-based league. And 8-8 in the playoffs with a team that believes that they're going to win the Super Bowl, that should win a Super Bowl, is not going to cut it. It's not going to cut it for Pagula. It's not going to cut it for a lot of owners. And there's only so much that every owner can take before they sit back and say, you know what? It's either both the general manager and the head coach, or it's just the head coach. We're going to find out if it's the general manager as well. But they at least said, you know what, McDermott, you've done all that you could have done with this roster, but you're not getting us to the mountaintop, and we need a change. There was no Patrick Mahomes. There was no Andy Reid this time. There was no Joe Burrow slicing up the defense. There was none of that. This was seen as Buffalo's best chance by the organization and by the media, both nationally and local, that this was the best chance for the Buffalo Bills to at least represent the AFC this year, and they failed to do so. This was their best chance to represent the AFC East as division winners, and the Patriots took that away from them. The Patriots went from being dominant to being bad to being great again before the Buffalo Bills even reached the Super Bowl. In that same time span that Sean McDermott was the head coach of the Buffalo Bills. Those results, especially when you look in your division and you see the team that used to beat the dog piss out of you every single year for 20 years has now come back to be great, and they've done it with a one-year coach. Now, we know Vrabel coached in Tennessee, but you guys catch my drift. This is his first year. The Patriots literally are coming off of a 5-win season, and now they're one game away from reaching the Super Bowl. It's one of the best turnarounds in NFL history. And Bagula was looking at that and had said, I've given you excuse with Mahomes. I have cried to the league. I convinced the league to change the overtime rules for you. And there's still no change in results. We still keep hitting this proverbial wall. This proverbial wall. There's no change. There's no, we got over Kansas City. There is no, you guys lost, and this is no offense to the Denver Broncos. This is no offense to the Bo Nix. Praise to Bo Nix. No offense. But the excuse was the Kansas City Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes. And that excuse was long gone. The excuse of, is Joe Burrow and the Cincinnati Bengals. That's gone. There was no Baltimore Ravens excuse. You guys keep beating Baltimore. So that excuse was gone too. There was no excuse why the Buffalo Bills could not represent the AFC this year in the eyes of Terry Pagula. So whoever takes this job, in my opinion, has 2 years to reach the Super Bowl. I think this first year is to kind of establish the standard and the culture. And then that second year is get your ass over the hump, because we're taking a gamble by firing a guy who's been here for 9 years, produced a 98-50 record in the regular season. The guy who came in and changed this entire organization around. We're taking a gamble on you to come in and finish the job. Plain and simple. And if you don't do that in 2 years, I think that coach is gone. I'm not talking about AFC divisional round. I'm not talking about making it to the AFC championship. I'm talking about you better make it to the Super Bowl or bust. You better win a Super Bowl or bust. That is the mindset with the Buffalo Bills. Because if that doesn't happen within 2 years, 3 at the most, but I really think the window is 2. Between establishing the standard and the culture, this team feels like they're built for a Super Bowl. They built a team to beat the Kansas City Chiefs, and they didn't even had to worry about that. But they couldn't even beat the Denver Broncos. Tre'Davious White had a total meltdown. We'll talk about that game. One of the best this is one of the best playoffs of all time. This is one of the best postseasons, one of the best off seasons of all time already. This is starting to become generational. But I called it when we talked about, and you guys can go back and watch it. Everything is archived on the channel. McDermott was in my top 10 of getting fired. And I went back and went to my whiteboard. And out of the top 10 that was in my head, like, hey, these guys are most likely to get fired, 7 of them got fired. And 1 stepped down. And he was just on the outskirts. Tom was just on the outskirts of it. But I've been saying it. That if McDermott don't at least get to the Super Bowl, they're going to let him go. Because they're tired of it. And they got tired of it. Which begs the question to anybody that's watching in the comment down below. Are long-term coaches a thing of the past? Are long-term coaches going to be a thing of the past? We saw where Harbaugh being fired after 18 years, Tomlin stepping down after 19. Let's be honest here. Let's not fake ourselves. Let's not kid ourselves. Let's not bullshit ourselves. When I sit back and say this, Patrick Mahomes has saved Andy Reid's ass countless times. Because Andy Reid could have been fired a long time ago if it wasn't for Patrick Mahomes. If it wasn't for Patrick Mahomes coming in and changing the entire organization. Kansas City was just like Buffalo 10 years ago. They couldn't get over the proverbial hump. They couldn't get to the mountaintop until they brought in Patrick Mahomes, and that changed everything. And I'm not the biggest believer of one player changes everything on a football field, but there are exceptions to that rule. And Patrick Mahomes is an exception to that rule. Whether you like them or not, the evidence is there. Kansas City was always that divisional round exit, very similar to Buffalo. Divisional round conference championship. I don't even think they reached the conference championship with Alex Smith as the quarterback. Henry could have been going a long time ago. But we are entering in an era. We are entering in an era where teams are really owners are being more patient with the general manager than they are with the head coach in of itself. We have seen what we got 9 vacancies throughout this entire offseason so far, postseason, offseason so far. And only 2 general managers were fired. Only 2. Browns kept the general manager. They kept what? The Atlanta kept Atlanta fired. Atlanta and Miami were the 2. They got rid of their general managers. Tennessee kept their general manager. The Giants kept their general manager. They kept Joe Shane. Like I said, the Browns kept their. So it's showing to me that you have all these vacancies all at once. And 3 of them got filled up, over the last 3-4 days, officially. But it is telling me that owners are looking at our coaches and going, you're the problem, not the guy who gave you the ingredients. My supplier is not the issue. My chef is the issue. I have great suppliers. I have great lettuce. I have great ground beef, ground chicken. I got the best ribs. I'm getting it from a premium farm. But man, my chef, he ain't cooking it up the way I want my chef to cook it up. So I ask you guys watching the live stream or watching on demand on the replay, are long-term coaches going to be a thing of the past? Because what our next 3 is Andy Reid, Sean McVay, Kyle Shanahan. I think those are your top 3. If I'm not mistaken. Because Sean Payton's been there for what? They've been in Denver for 3 years. And look what he's done in 3 years in Denver. Like, this is Denver's first playoff win since 10 years. So I believe your top 3, as far as longest tenure, is Andy Reid, Sean McVay, and Kyle Shanahan in that order. Or Shanahan and McVay might be flipped depending on the date that they got hired, but they got hired the same year. So the thing of Tomlin staying there for 19 years, Harbaugh staying there for 18 years, and riding 1 Super Bowl each had a Super Bowl, and they rolled that Super Bowl ring to that long tenure. I personally think that's long gone. I think if you don't, or if you got 1 Super Bowl ring, you better have a stronger resume, kind of like McVay's. McVay's resume after that Super Bowl, they're going to another NFC Championship game. It was their first one since then, but McVay already went to the Super Bowl prior to that. They're consistently winning in LA, and they're not hitting a wall neither. They're getting past things. They were 1 possession away last year from going to the NFC Championship game. So our long-term coach is going to be a thing of the past, especially these coaches that carry 1 Super Bowl ring and they just carry it over into this year, before next thing you know, things get stale and hit a wall. But we can't fire him because he's a Super Bowl winning coach. We can't fire him because he's been here for 18 years. He's been here for 19 years. He's been here for 15 years. Tomlin should have been gone like what, 5 years ago? At most. I've heard Steelers fans say he should have been gone since 2018. I would say at least the last 5 years, Tomlin should have been gone. Harbaugh should have been gone prior to Lamar having a resurgence, and missing the playoffs multiple times. Harbaugh got a better case of staying. But even then, you saw what happened. They went from the AFC Championship game to AFC Divisional game to not making the playoffs whatsoever. And Bisciotti, who likes stability, that doesn't like the ruffle any feathers, that's loyal, that cares about his staff members, said, we got to go. We got to change something else. And we're going to have this wave of new owners come in, whether it's going to be the Nepo baby kids or it's going to be somebody or investment group buying these NFL teams. That's going to happen in the next 5 to 10 years. Best believe it. We're saying it here first in the nosebleed section. But our long-term coach is going to be a thing of the past. And better yet, what's next for Buffalo? What is next for Buffalo? Do they go offensive minded? Do they go get a Clint Kubiak? Do they go get Mike McDaniel? I'm seeing that the favorites is for Mike McDaniel to be the head coach of the Buffalo Bills. This is easily over Baltimore, to me, in my opinion, over Baltimore, over Pittsburgh, the sexiest job as far as the roster and the talent. And that's saying a lot because Baltimore has Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry. Buffalo has James Cook. They got Josh Allen. They got Joey Bosa. And not to mention, they just got another second round exit. That's why I think they're a little bit more sexier than the Baltimore Ravens job. Who would I like to see in Buffalo? I would love to see Clint Kubiak in Buffalo to see what he could do with Josh Allen, or maybe even a Grant Udinski. You know, it's starting to look like Udinski's going to be the head coach of the Browns. That's what it's starting to look like. I'm not sure about Mike McDaniel going to Buffalo. I know a lot of the odds are that's going to happen. He's in a division. He would know those guys. He got a lot out of Tua. But I mean, I don't know. Or I'm also seeing Joe Brady. I'm not sure about Joe Brady as well. But what is next for Buffalo? Because Denver beat them 33-30 in overtime. We saw the meltdown. We saw Josh Allen turn the ball over at the end of the first half. We saw Josh Allen miss, what was that? Was that Kincaid or Dawson Knox on that wide open pass that could have got them the game-winning touchdown in regular time. We saw them play good defense against Denver in that first drive. And the interception by McMillan was phenomenal. It was phenomenal. It could have went either way. And I thought the referees made the right call in a fast-paced game, in a game that meant so much. But the meltdown, and I think that was part of it too, why McDermott got fired, is like, you know, Tre'Davious White is pissed off. He's been a part of the team for a long time. You know he's mad. And as a coach, you got to recognize, like, hey, my player's not in the right headspace. Like, yeah, they're down at the goal line already, but like, and I know some people are like, man, that's a valid crash out. That's a valid crash out. You know, this, that. Oh, it was an extremely valid crash out. But as a head coach, right, you got to realize that your players is legitimately too, like, mentally frazzled, right? Like, just emotionally high, too emotional. That's a huge penalty. And it was the right call by the referees. Anybody that doesn't say that wasn't right call is crazy, is a Buffalo Bills fan or anything like that, right? That was the right call. It wasn't questionable. You got to play the ball. You got to turn your head. If it's a catchable ball, you got to turn your head. Because even the one that they didn't call on, what's his name? Benford, right? Before they called that first pass interference. That was questionable because he didn't turn his head. They let that one slide. So I just think that was a part of it. I just think they looked at that. I think Pagula looked at him and was like, why didn't you pull Tre'Davious White out of the game afterwards? Why couldn't you sit back and go, you know what, Tre'Davious, I know I need you out there, but you're too emotionally high. You're too emotionally high for this. I need you to, you gotta come out, man. You gotta come out. At least for this play. For one play or anything like that. Because it made the field goal much closer. Wasn't by much, about what, 3-4 yards? But sometimes 3-4 yards make a big difference. A lot of times 3-4 yards make a big difference in a field goal. And especially a high pressure field goal like that. I thought Denver played a good game plan all the way around against the Buffalo Bills. I thought they did an excellent job mixing up their coverages, confusing Josh Allen, and they just played their brand of Denver defense that they've been playing the last 2 years. This has been one of the better defenses in the last 2 years. But that Tre'Davious thing, I when I watched that, and I watched Tre'Davious have a total meltdown. The first thing I sat back and said was, wow. The first thing I sat back and said was, wow, that might have just gotten McDermott fired because he doesn't have, it showed that he doesn't have control of the situation. He doesn't have control of the players as far as, or just even like, you know, taking them out and just like, hey, like, we can't, like, you can't do that, Tre'Davious. Matter of fact, Tre'Davious, I can tell how pissed off you are. And we're not acting like, let's not sit here and act like Tre'Davious ain't. He left for 1 year and came back to the team. So McDermott knows Tre'Davious, should know his body language. And he didn't take him out of the game. So he doesn't get penalized for that. And I think a different coach probably would have did that. So yeah, it's just, I know McDermott like sat back and was just like, oh, well, the referees didn't give us enough time on that interception to, like, you know, determine it and this and third. Like, what more time do you want? Like, they legitimately confirmed that it was an interception. They confirmed that it was an interception. And you call the timeout to make sure that the referees have more time. Should you have burned the timeout? No, but they confirmed it pretty fast, and then you turn around and call the timeout so you can buy yourself more time. And they determined that, hey, it didn't happen. It was an interception. So I want to play this clip of Sean McDermott talking about it. I think I got the right clip. Fair use.
The game, though, at the same time, and these guys will learn. You learn some lessons from this game, and sometimes hard lessons.
What did you get in next week? Can you take us into that sequence on the Brandon Cooks? What ended up being the interception, the timeout, what you were told?
Yeah, so obviously I don't have the power to challenge. Right, we're in overtime, so the flag is not an option to throw it down. So I called a timeout to try and get the process to slow down, because it seemed like the process was not slowing down. It was a rather rapid unfolding of the review, if there was a review. And so I called a timeout to try and slow it down. It would seem logical to me. It would seem logical to me that it make a lot of sense that the head official would walk over and want to go and take a look at it just to make sure that everybody from here who is in the stadium to there are on the same page. That's too big of a play, in my estimation, too big of a play, and in a play that decided the game potentially as well, to not even slow it down. And that's why I had to call the timeout. It's not what I wanted to do, but I had to do it in order to make sure that I understood what was going on and that they did take a look at it. And it's hard for me to, and I've had a chance to look at, it's hard for me to understand why it was ruled the way it was ruled. And if it is ruled that way, then why wasn't it slowed down? Just to make sure that we have this right. That would have made a lot of sense to me, to make sure that we have this thing right, because that's a pivotal play in the game. We have the ball at the 20, maybe kicking a game-winning field goal right there. So I'll just leave it at that. But I'm saying it because I'm standing up for Buffalo. Damn it, I'm standing up for us. Because what went on is not how it should go down, in my estimation. That play, these guys spent 3 hours out there playing football, pouring their guts out, to not even say, hey, let's just slow this thing down. That's why I'm bothered.
You're right. Catch down by contact?
In my eyes, it was. Yes, in my eyes, it was.
And, you know, I'm gonna say this, like, it looked like it was catch by contact initially, but it was explained multiple times. And it granted, TV different from, you know, being on the sidelines and everything like that. But from us watching it, right, to me, it seemed like it was explained pretty well that Brandon Cooks did not have possession of the ball. I thought he did initially when I first looked at it. I thought he initially had possession of the ball and was down by contact. But the slow motion showed that the defender's hand was disrupting Brandon Cooks from having the possession of the ball. I mean, exactly how I said it. That's a call that could have went any way. And the referee determined that it was intercepted and not a catch. And it seemed like to me there was enough time, at least between how many times they showed the replay before the timeout, that there was enough time where usually when you see replays like that multiple times before that timeout even happened, it's like, okay, they're looking at it. So I thought, okay, they're looking at it. We're seeing it a lot of times. That means New York, New Jersey is looking at it. And then McDermott calls the timeout. I felt like it was enough time. But Denver goes down the field. They get a couple of PIs. Bo Nix injures himself on that quarterback keeper, which I didn't get that play to begin with. And then that turnaround, that was the play that ended his career. They're starting Jarrett Stidham, excuse me. And don't rule out Denver because they're starting Jarrett Stidham. Don't rule them out because we seen that with Philadelphia about 10 years ago, about 9 years ago. So don't rule them out. Let's move on to the next game. Seattle put belt to ass on the 49ers. I mean, it was like the best way I can describe this game. We're not going to spend too much time on this game whatsoever. Is that Seattle got pissed the fuck off that they didn't put up 41 against them 2 weeks ago. Like they beat their ass. Let's be real here. They beat their ass to determine who was going to be the number one seed. It was just a very low scoring game. Very low scoring game. And please go subscribe to the All Ground Sports Show because I said it in week 1 when San Francisco played Seattle. And I was saying, Seattle really could have won that game if they didn't keep shooting themselves in their foot. And I did say on the show last week that Sam Darnold was going to Sam Darnold and cost Seattle the game. I was wrong about it. Sam Darnold didn't need to do much. That was also because I listened to my father. My father's smart. He's a smart man. But I should have stuck with my guts on this one. But it was like Seattle was pissed off that they didn't put up 41 against them. So they was like, you know what? We're going to put up 41 against them, and we're just going to beat the fuck out of them. We're going to beat the dog piss out of them. That's what we're going to do. So we got Seattle. So we got the 2 number 1 seeds. They won their games. Don't need to spend much time on this. Sam Darnold all Sam Darnold had to do was bring the water to the coffee pot. And everybody else did what they were supposed to do. Now, who should have brought the water to the coffee pot and proceeded to break the coffee pot in of itself was that of CJ Stroud. 4 interceptions in that first half helps the Patriots win 28-16 to the point where there was that debate of should Davis Mills come in or should they continue to ride with CJ Stroud? Because CJ Stroud, I mean, you know what this reminds me of? This reminds me of Peyton Manning going against the New England Patriots in the 2003 AFC Championship game, where he's coming off like those first 2 games against Denver and against the Kansas City Chiefs, where they didn't punt the ball a single time. And yes, you can go back and watch that game on YouTube. But they legitimately, it just looked like that. It just looked like that. Like just struggling. And it's just, my God. CJ Stroud, he couldn't get out of his own way. He could not get out of his own way. And the thing about, I just want to say this, right? Because Ryan Clark is getting a lot of heat, right? Ryan Clark is getting a lot of heat for sitting back and saying, oh, well, he sat back and praised CJ Stroud. He sat back and praised him and everything like that. And oh my goodness, if that was a different and all this other stuff, he wouldn't have been saying the same thing. And I think what Ryan Clark was saying was the right thing. It just came from the wrong person. Because Ryan Clark is known to doing that type of stuff. But Ryan Clark is right about one thing. If you got CJ Stroud as your quarterback, you drafted him second overall. You drafted him second overall behind Bryce Young. You got to give your franchise quarterback the opportunity to make up for this. Because they were down 10-21. They were still in this game. You're down by 11 with a whole nother half to go. They're still in this game. Why not give your franchise quarterback or the guy that you're claiming to be the franchise quarterback? Why are you not giving him the opportunity to make up the 4 interceptions? But when you look at it from just the context of the Patriots game, Ryan Clark is right. But if you throw that Pittsburgh Steelers game in there, y'all see where I'm going with this. I want to play this clip of and Clash of Sports pulled it up. Fair use, but like I want to play this clip right here that Clash of Sports pulled up of Ryan Clark. And I just want you guys to hear it for yourselves of what Ryan Clark was saying. Fair use.
Is the quarterback for the Houston Texans going forward. 3 years in a row, CJ Stroud's gotten you to this game. This is the year you feel like you have the players around him to win it. There's no Nico Collins. There's no Dalton Schultz. There's no run game. They put everything on this young man's shoulders. Give him 30 minutes to show you that he's the guy you drafted second overall. He's the guy that's brought you here, and that he's the dude that can take you in the future. He's playing for it all right now, whether if it's his mind, if it's physical, if it's decisions, if it's bad throws. You got to let him go out and show you this is who he is.
Anyway, so Ryan Clark.
I mean, you know what? He's right. He's right. You got to let your franchise quarterback be the one to get you out of this. For the most part, outside of 3 games, Davis Mills held his own. Davis Mills absolutely held his own when they needed him to hold his own, right? And for the most part, CJ Stroud got y'all there. His quarterback play towards the end of the season was solid. Did what he was supposed to do. But a lot of people saw what Davis Mills did in those 3 games that didn't have CJ Stroud in there. And really, it was those 3 games that turned the entire Texas season around, especially offensively. The offensive line was getting in better communication. They had better chemistry. They were winning games, and they weren't just like Davis Mills just showing up and bringing a pencil to the group project and getting an A for it. He was doing what he was supposed to do. So it really did turn the season around for the Houston Texans. Which I have a question for you guys and for the comments. Should the Houston Texans consider moving on from CJ Stroud? It's definitely made Houston kind of go, whoa, 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 whoa. Let's hold off on those contract negotiations. Because you are the second overall pick. We did just have the best defense in the league, and not just a statistically best defense in the league, a legitimately schematic defensive team, a team that is legitimate, where all you got to do is bring coffee to all you got to do is bring water to the coffee pot, and you just crash it on the floor. So should the Houston Texans consider moving on from CJ Stroud? Right now, no. Right now, no. Because yes, bad 2-3 game stretch, right? But can anybody name me a quarterback that is available or that would be available that can come in and fill that spot, or that can come to the team and fill in that spot and do better than what CJ Stroud can do on a consistent basis? Because if you look at the Pittsburgh game, he brought a pencil to the group project and got an A. You look at that Patriots game, and it was like handing like a baby, like a couch to hand. Like, you know how you gotta like move a couch and you gotta like use 2 people to move the couch? That's like having a toddler on the other end, when all I needed was another grown man. And I'm not saying CJ Stroud is a toddler or playing like a toddler or anything like that, but that's like a good visual and analogy of what I'm talking about here. Like CJ Stroud didn't have to do much. And better yet, like this is better yet. Why continue to I get it, you're down by 11 and a half, but why not mix it up? They just kept putting the ball in CJ Stroud's hand. They just kept doing it. Yes, Doug, you're right. The Lions did hire Drew Pettizine from the Cardinals. I don't know how I feel about that. I mean, did we? I know Detroit has a better roster, but we saw how the Cardinals played, right? Yeah, okay. I don't know. If I was maybe Mike McDaniel told Dan Campbell no. I'm not sure about that, but I mean, I would have just waited to see what Mike McDaniel was going to do. I would have just waited. You know, the Texans are top half right now. They're still a top half team. They still are one of the better teams in the league, especially with that defense. You just need a quarterback that's going to get you there. And what CJ Stroud did for at least this game and somewhat throughout the season is just get you there. I don't need you to take the steering wheel and steer it into the barricade, because that's exactly what he did. That's a great analogy. You know, when I was taught how to drive, right? When I was taught how to drive, not these Teslas, when I was legitimately taught how to drive a car, I was told, and I'm pretty sure everybody who's learned how to drive was told, you know, because I used to grip the steering wheel like this. I was real scared of it. My driving instructor went, let go of the wheel. I'm talking about we were in the middle of traffic. I'm talking about like we are like, there's cars all the way around me and I'm holding it like this. And he's like, let go of the steering wheel. Just let it go. He was like, the car drives itself. All you're doing is controlling it. All you're doing is steering it. That's all you got to do is steer it. You won't have to grip the wheel like this. Because when you grip the wheel like this, you're going to tend to make mistakes because you're going to be overthinking things. Right? So let go. Nice firm grip. You steer the car. And CJ Stroud held on to the wheel and went right into the barricade, right into the concrete barricade, right into the concrete median, whatever you want to call it, with the entire team. What Charles Barkley say? There are guys that ride the bus and there are guys that are bus drivers. And at least for one game, when it mattered the most, when you've had easily in the Houston Texans history, in their 24-year history, this was their best team. This was their best team, their best chance, because hey, ain't no Chiefs. And when they played that game, wasn't no Buffalo Bills, and we already knew about Bo Nix getting out. And I had Houston being a dark horse to win the championship. I had Houston winning this game. But shout out to the Patriots for doing what they were supposed to do. They exposed the Houston Texans offense down to a T. Like I said, it was like watching Peyton Manning in 2003 against the New England Patriots, where he threw like 4 or 5 interceptions. Duncan said CJ is under contract to 2026. Exactly. He is. He's under contract this season. They have an option. They have the 5th-year option. But I think it literally made, who's the owner? Kyle McNair. They kind of went, because I'm pretty sure they went into like, okay, whatever we do, you know, we're gonna exercise the 5th-year option and let's start to get into the negotiations of getting CJ here for a long term. Now they're sitting back and going, I don't know. I'm not sure yet. I'm not sure. Don't know. I think that's what's going on. Because they're like, they're like, and you know what? D'Amico Ryans could be up in that office like, hey, you know what? Y'all don't mind doing a little grocery shopping for me? Kind of need a new, or y'all don't mind going like putting an application on Indeed? I need a new chef. Had a great kitchen staff, but Actually, the players are the ingredients. These rack of ribs you got are nice, but I think we can go get better rack of ribs at a better supplier. There's some conversations going on in Houston, Texas about CJ Stroud because it looked like CJ Stroud impersonator was out there and not CJ Stroud himself. They did a great job keeping Drake May clean as possible. I thought they did a phenomenal job. I thought, considering the circumstance, I thought the Patriots played a damn near perfect game. Damn near perfect game. And then to me, we move on to what I thought was game of the week, which is damning because outside of the belt to ass that the Seahawks put on the 49ers, Rams survive freezing temperatures. They survived the Bears 20-17. A lot of people didn't get the Rams a chance because of the weather. And that wasn't the case. This was that ending play right there is just, I mean, man, let's look at that play. Let's be honest here. Let's look at that play. Because that right there was like play of the year. That was arguably play of the year. Or like at least circumstance of the year. Fair use. Yes, we just got to look at this.
So here we go. 4th and 4.
Slows the blitz.
The man in motion. Williams drifting, sprinting for space, in all kinds of trouble. Put it up for next. The end zone.
Hey, that's crazy.
For the touchdown! They've done it again!
In that circumstances going, I mean, look at Stafford's face.
Unbelievable!
This is what the NFL playoffs are all about right here. And Ben Johnson, like stone cold face. Man, is this the greatest playoffs we've seen? Is this the playoffs that is this the greatest playoffs you guys have seen? And I don't want like the recency biasy, but like this is up to between wild card round and this round, outside of like a couple of games. This has been like a definitive moment after a definitive moment after a definitive moment. I thought this game had a good mix of offense and defense. I thought this was a well-done chess match between two young coaches. And McVay has way more experience than Ben Johnson. But Ben Johnson went toe-to-toe with one of the best. And Ben Johnson will be one of the best, I believe. Duncan, you talking about CJ Stroud being just $9 million per year? He needs $25 million, or is that Caleb Williams? Because I mean, let's be honest here. Everybody was ready to call Caleb Williams a bust. People were calling Caleb Williams a bust, especially when they watched J5, Jaden Daniels, go to the NFC Championship game last year in his rookie year, and everybody was calling, "Oh, the Bears made the wrong choice." And I was one of the few people privately that was like, "There's something with Caleb Williams. Be patient." Sometimes we're not patient with these younger quarterbacks. Sometimes we're not. But just be patient with these younger quarterbacks. It's okay. You know, not everything has to be, you know, and I think that's the thing too, right? Like a lot of people expect these quarterbacks to come out and just look like Peyton Manning and Drew Brees and Tom Brady. We really got, and Phillip Rivers, like we really got spoiled. Especially like my group, my age group, we got spoiled. Let's be honest here. We got spoiled. And it doesn't help like the national media is like, is there a quarterback problem? Is there a quarterback problem? There might be a quarterback problem. But have we ever questioned, is there a wide receiver problem too? Is there a wide receiver problem? Because I'm looking at the four remaining teams. The Rams, the Denver Broncos, the New England Patriots, and the Seattle Seahawks. And one can make the case that every single one of these teams have a true number one wide receiver. Sutton with Denver, JSN with Seattle, Stephon Diggs with New England, and the Rams got 2 with Puka and Devontae Adams. So is it a quarterback issue? Is it a wide receiver issue? Is it a combination of both? Let me know. But I just think that these teams that have these wide receivers right here, now, yes, it's a a group effort or anything like that. Yes, team effort. But look what the Rams were able to do after that interception by Caleb Williams, which, by the way, he was not looking at Monungai. Monungai was his check down. Worst case scenario, that's an incomplete pass. Because Monungai was on the block and release. But who did Stafford throw to in that drive that he could rely on the most? Devontae Adams, Puka Nacua. Straight up. Devontae Adams made that excellent 11-yard catch. Puka got that catch and drug the defender right deeper into field goal range. So it's just, I just my God. I look at the Patriots with Stephon Diggs and Booty. Look at that tandem right there. Like Kayvon, I think it's Keyshawn Booty. Like, nobody, let's be real here. Nobody had the Patriots going to the AFC Championship game. Nobody had the Patriots going to the AFC Championship game. And they're one win away from going to their third Super Bowl without Brady. Look at JSN. Do I need to say anything more? When they need him the most, he delivers. He delivers. Sutton delivers. You got teams, every single team got a number one wide receiver that you know is going to deliver when it matters the most. Every single one of these teams has a defense that delivers no matter what. The Rams, what was the issue this year? Was their defensive backs. And that was the weak point in their defense, was their defensive backs. And their defensive backs delivered throughout this entire playoffs. They got key stops when it mattered the most. They got interceptions when they needed it. And they covered well enough to prevent a lot of big plays outside that 4th and 4. Outside that corner post route that Bryce Young threw in the wild card game. That was their weakness, right? And I think what's going to happen is that I think we're about to see 2 of the greatest, potentially, this has potentially been the greatest championship round in the last 15 years. On one side, you got 2 great defenses clashing it out. I know everybody wish we could see Bo Nix versus Drake May. But we got Jarrett Stidham. And you can't count out a backup quarterback. We've seen that. We've seen that with Nick Foles. We've seen that with Jeff Hostetler. So you can't count the backup quarterback. And Sean Payton gives this guy a lot of vote of confidence. A lot. So you can't rule out the Denver Broncos, especially with a defense like this. Because if the Houston Texans have the best defense, Denver damn sure is 1B. And then the Browns are number 2. Right? We've seen the Denver Broncos defense hold their own when their offense wasn't playing the best throughout this year. So we'll see what's going to happen with that. Duncan, shout out to you, Duncan, being the number one guy here today. He says, yeah, I love when the Patriots, no offense, falls. It makes it more competitive at the Super Bowl game. CJ Stroud is on a 4-year, $36 million. That's his rookie deal with a $9 million signing bonus. CJ Stroud is still on his rookie year. He's still on his rookie contract. So it's just a matter of, like, do the Texans exercise? Like, this is the last year of the rookie deal. And then I believe it's first rounders. Every team has the 5th year option for their first rounders. that, and usually it's about year 3, in between year 3, year 4, is where teams will exercise that 5th-year option because they already know, hey, we're going to keep them, or you know what, no, we're not going to keep them, or they'll go ahead and just trade them away. And I think the Houston Texans are going to exercise that 5th-year option until this game, really until the last 2, but they won that first game, so it wasn't a lot of thought into that. But again, I'm a firm believer, as Shannon Sharp say it all the time, I'm a firm believer too, you don't accept excuses when you win. When you win, accept those excuses when you lose. Don't accept things when you win, that you wouldn't accept when you lose. And I'm pretty sure the organization kind of didn't. They just kind of just like, oh, okay, we won. Maybe it's just a bad game. Everybody has bad games. Everybody has bad games. But bad game. This one was kind of like I don't know yet. Maybe not. It's like going to I use food a lot because food is very relatable. It's like going to a 3-star restaurant or a 2.5-star restaurant. It's like when you look at the reviews and be like, oh, okay, hey, there's some good reviews on here. Like, there's some bad ones. I don't know about this restaurant. Guess we can try. I guess we could try and see. And that's kind of like where the Texans are with CJ Stroud now. They're kind of like, okay, we'll try and see one more year, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I just believe that the Texans threw their hands up in the air or kind of backed away from the table a little bit and went, let's see what year 4 does, because they have amount of time. I think they have up until and I have to look this up, but I think they at least got it up until around this time next year to determine if they're going to like use the 5th-year option or not. Because I think if I'm not mistaken, they have to use the 5th-year option before they use the franchise tag with CJ Stroud. Free agency is the next step, or he may be traded under his existing contract if they can get somebody to buy. Like I said, if you're Houston, yes, you could easily trade CJ Stroud to like a New Orleans or to Miami, to Cleveland, to Arizona, right? But who do you get in return that you believe is going to be just equally good, if not better, than CJ Stroud? Because it's not General Mills. It's not General Mills. Let's keep it a buck. Let's call it spade to spade. It ain't General Mills did exactly what he was supposed to do. He does great for 3-4 games, but the wheels off the wagon starts to fall off the longer you keep him in there. So it ain't Davis Mills. Davis Mills is like that backup quarterback you put in for 3-4 games, or you send him to an organization that's rebuilding, like the New York Jets, like the Tennessee Titans, but they got their quarterback with Cam Ward. So really like the New York Jets or like the New Orleans Saints, even though I think the Saints got a quarterback in Tyler Shaw, however you say his last name. I think they're looking at him highly because he played better than a lot of people expected. I was one of the defenders of this show. I mean, of Tyler, because I've seen him a lot, especially like, between watching his tape at Louisville and watching him play against my team. I'm a Notre Dame fan. I knew he would be fine in the league. I ain't scream superstar. I say, hey, he might be a serviceable backup quarterback or a bridge quarterback. Like, that's what Davis Mills is. He's at best a bridge quarterback. Organization that is just waiting for that great quarterback to come out. We can build around the bridge for now, build the structure, and then when it comes time, we'll get the guy. That's what Davis Mills is. So if you're the Houston Texans, you got to sit back and go, we can trade CJ Stroud to almost any team in the league. Despite the last 2 games, there are a lot of teams out there that would love to have the services of CJ Stroud. I just named a few: the Jets, Browns, Cardinals, the Saints, the Dolphins. Hell, even the Atlanta Falcons might consider it. But if you're Houston and you know that I have a Super Bowl caliber defense, I have an offense that can deliver just enough to help this defense, just to complement this defense enough to make a deep run, right? Because the Texans are now 0-7 all time in divisional rounds. They have to sit back and go, we have to find a quarterback that is equal, if not better, than CJ Stroud. And just off of like what I'm looking at in free agency and like teams that could potentially move on from their quarterbacks, I don't see one. I don't see maybe a Jared Goff, but Detroit's not going to give up Jared Goff. No, sit back and think about. I mean, if you offer, because they're both going into their last year of their deals. If you offer CJ Stroud for Jared Goff and some draft picks, maybe Detroit would take it. I think Detroit would be stupid not to take it. But I'm just like, it's not like it's 2022 where you had Aaron Rodgers and Stafford and at the time Russell Wilson, and at the time, at the time it was Deshaun Watson as well. That's another thing, right? That you don't have that plethora of proven guys that can be traded to another team. That's going to be an upgrade of CJ. That's going to be upgraded CJ Stroud. Indiana University is on. They may go number one. Opponent tough second. Yes. So right now Indiana's up 3-0. They're right at the 50-yard line against the Miami Hurricane. I'm hoping Indiana wins. Indiana's they're full of team. They're full of guys that like they don't have like the 5-star recruits. They don't have the 4-star recruits that wows everybody off of what's that website called? It's on the tip of my tongue, like draft ratings, or it's not DraftKings for Pete's sake. The one that scouts all the high school players. I can't remember off the top of my head what website that's called. But they got a bunch of guys that play college football in smaller programs that have the experience and that can play football. So as of now, like I said, it's 3-0. They're at Miami's 48-yard line. Mendoza's 9-13 at 82 yards. Carson Beck 3-7, 16 yards. Only points was, like I said, 34-yard field goal. So we will talk about that. I know I'm recording this while the national championship game is on. And I'm about to catch the rest of this, but I definitely wanted to get this show in before, or not before, what, time constraints, I got to be a father first, you know what I'm saying? So, I had to do my due diligence, but we still got a show going on. So please, again, thank you all for watching. Like I said, the Rams beat the Bears 20-17. They won that game in overtime with the thicker kicker. Again, please hit that like button. Please share. Please comment. Please subscribe. The whole 9 yards. We are on the road to 150 subscribers. We're at 123 right now. Thank you all for watching. If you just popped in, if this is your first time here, welcome again. If you guys just popped in, if you guys stayed for the whole time, just thank you so much for giving me a chance to entertain you guys. And if you like all the content, football content, Browns content, wrestling content, gonna get back into the wrestling stuff. Hit that like button, share, comment, subscribe. Thank you all for joining the Nosebleed section. This is Tyrell signing off. This is from the Nosebleed Show. Peace out.